Hey everyone, this is Matthew Loomis with BuildYourOwnBlog.net, and I have the privilege to sit here today with a friend of mine who happens to be one of the best bloggers in the universe, and he knows a lot about blogging, he knows a lot about copywriting, he knows a lot about online business writing, and he can really teach us a lot about how to be a better blogger. Tell us, first of all, the Build Your Own Blog audience, a little bit about yourself and your background and your experience and what you're all about.
Okay, I'm a trained poet. I found that I wasn't very good at poetry, but I was kind of good at writing essays, and so I graduated and looked for a job, and I realized that I could not find a job making money as a poet. So I was actually, just by a sort of series of circumstances, kind of found myself in a marketing job, and I thought I would totally turn my nose up to it, but I ended up actually loving it, and got started. Just fell in love with it and just threw myself, whole hog into copywriting, into marketing, to advertising, to psychology, which is a lot of behind what we're doing as advertisers and as writers, and that's how I got in the business. And I've been in the business for almost 15 years. 2 years ago, I started working for Copyblogger Media, and before that, I worked for myself freelance. But I've always known this, and I love it, and I enjoy getting to talk about it with people like you.
That's great. So tell us a little bit more about Copyblogger.
So Copyblogger is a blog that was started by Brian Clark in 2006. It was just two posts a day. So this is encouragement to everybody out there that we all start at the bottom. We all start in the dark, in obscurity, and stuff like that. So Brian, he had some experience in the legal field, and he had some experience in the real estate field, creating content and building audiences and selling those audiences, products that people would actually buy. So he took all that he learned and launched Copyblogger. It started gaining traction and getting attention, and then eventually at some point he had a pretty big, sizable audience at that point. And he and Tony Clark, who's one of our partners, they started talking like, let's find out from our audience what they need to succeed in the business world. So they came up with this idea called Teaching Cells, which is basically an educational program. And they asked their audience, if we built this, would you buy it? And it was a resounding yes.
So you also have a personal blog called The Copybot. Can you tell us a little bit about The Copybot?
I absolutely can. So I started The Copybot when I started working for myself back in 2011, April 2011. I quit my job and went to work freelance as a copywriter, and so I knew I needed a website, and you need the web presence, and so that's where the Copybot was born, which was actually an idea from my daughter. And so and so I just started publishing content on a weekly, for a while there it was on a weekly basis, and as I built up an audience, I got leads. I was doing some guest posting for Copyblogger. I was doing some guest posting from other places, and business came in, and that blog itself kind of grew up. At first, it was completely just sort of directed towards writing well as a blogger. Then I kind of took a turn to write things that were kind of more personal, sort of like my experience as a freelancer. This is after about 2 years in, my experience as a freelancer. So it has a little bit of that personal appeal, and also a lot of the philosophy and theory behind just writing in general, blogging. Doing this sort of, being a writer, being a professional writer, and what's behind that, how that works.
By the way, I do highly recommend that you check out copyblogger.com as well as the Copybot, thecopybot.com. Just both websites are just great places to find information and how-to advice and tips and tricks on running a successful blog and making money online. So check out those two websites when you get a chance.
Thank you, Matt.
What advice would you give to someone? Let's say someone is just now listening to this video, and they're wanting to start a blog, but they're being held back, maybe doubt or fear. are holding them back, what would you say to somebody like that?
The question you have to answer first is like, will I have the passion? Will I have the desire to sustain this long term? Because blogging is really the successful blogging, and like, you know, where I'm now at now with the Copybot, where Brian is with the Copyblogger, with anybody that you know out there who, you know, with Matt, his Build Your Own Blog, anybody that you know that's out there has to overcome that first 2 years, almost, I would say it is, you know, and now it's been kind of reduced sometimes to 6 months to a year, but there's a period of time where you'll be working and you'll be talking to the dark. You'll be talking, you know, to nobody, right? I mean, except for your family.
Your cat, maybe.
Your cat, right, your cat, and so you have to realize that that's going to happen, and so do you have, and plus, do you have the interest in this particular topic? Because I think the mistake a lot of people make, and this is what I kind of learned from my own, you know, experiences, like they'll choose a topic because they think that's what they need to write about for something to fulfill. That will only sustain you a period for just a short period of time. If you're not personally interested in it, I would not do it. I would, you know, at least make it a short-term project. But pick a subject matter that you care about, and that, you know, you don't have to be really good at it. You just have to be able to want to get better at it. And so pick a topic that you like and that you can sustain it. So that would be the first advice to do it. And set your doubts aside, set your cares aside, because we all feel it. We all start at the bottom, and we all have those doubts whether nobody's going to listen. And there's those people who punch through no matter the circumstances, and keep driving, keep working, and who are patient, because it will take a long time to see any kind of success and to get any kind of traction. So just be patient, you know, and be persistent, and don't give up. And be passionate about what you do too. That's, I think, the key.
So if someone who has never blogged before asks you, what should I blog about? Or how should I go about choosing one solid niche? What would you say?
I think it's a good question. What do you write about? You write about something that you care about. You know, if you, whatever that topic is in which you know that you can defend, like you'll have the energy to defend, you have the concern to defend it, and that's the topic that you should choose, and that's the topic that you should go to. I do think, though, you know, for a personal blog too, what's most important is your voice, is your personality that comes through there, because I think a lot of times I see writers who aren't that, you know, people who aren't that great of writers, but they've got a great voice and they've got a great passion for what they're talking about, and that you know, they take off and they carry you along. And who cares if they don't, you know, they don't have great grammar structure, but what they say and how they say it is what really kind of matters. So if you have that going, so which goes back to my point, is like choose a topic that you're interested in and focus on that. But then again, and you've probably seen it, known this yourself, with your own particular blog, you know, feel free to experiment. You know, if you're going down a particular path, you're talking about something, and you get tired of it, then change gears. You know, do something in order to get out, and you might be surprised your audience might actually love it. You know, like,
I know that you advocate that all bloggers should like own their platform. In other words, you don't advocate or recommend that they choose a free platform like Blogger or some cookie cutter outfit like that. And you definitely, I know, God forbid, don't recommend that somebody uses a social media channel like Google Plus as their blog. Can you explain why you don't recommend somebody doing that, and actually explain why you should own the real estate that you have online, like your blog?
So the goal is, of course, to you know, like we talk, build that audience that you can actually then figure out and sell them the product after that. But the other thing is that, I mean, like, you know, the stuff that you write is, you know, from just driving traffic, you know, be getting organic traffic. So like, you know, being able to flip, you know, your blog posts into ebooks, into things that you can actually sell. You know, lots of bloggers who have blogged and then gotten book deals out of that. Those are all media assets that you're building. And so, but you know, if you do that on a free site, or if you do that, like on Facebook, you don't own that. You know, you have to. A lot of these sites now will give you the ability to download that information, so you still can get it back. But like all that time all that time you invest into sort of building real estate that gets traction, SEO, you can't do that on the social media site, right? They are earning money from you, your free work, the work that you do. They're earning money from your content, and
Right.
and you're not.
Yeah.
And so in other words, yeah, you're being used. If
Yeah.
you're interested in actually like building a business, you're crazy to try to start that on something that's free. Go ahead and bite the bullet, and get the hosting, get the website, get the good design. Because especially as a professional, if you want to be this professional, you want it to go anywhere. We always talk about this in business. It's like, the content and the design. People make decisions based upon the design of the site. If they come to it and it looks like it's free, they're not going
Right.
to trust it nearly as well. But if it looks like it's paid and somebody's put time into it,
Right.
they're going to pause and take stock of what's going on.
And you of course you like WordPress. Why do you like WordPress so much?
I like it because it's free.
Take us through your writing process from the blank screen to hitting publish. What's your process look like?
Well, it really just starts off with knowing like research, right? And say I'm given an assignment from Brian or somebody else like that to write about a particular topic. I'll sit down and I'll do like 2-3 days of research, depending upon my comfort level with the concept, and the availability of the sort of research. I'll spend anywhere from 2-3 days. It's just strict sort of researching on that. On my whiteboard, I create this massive outline. Taking all my notes, create this massive outline, and I start kind of sculpting it into a story. So I'll have categories of information, how the notes fit together, and you might have 6 columns. The 6 columns each column represents one article out of a series, say. And so then once I have that figured out and I know the kind of story that I'm going to tell, because I look at each blog post and each series as its own story. It's always got to tell a narrative. I'm always pushing this has got to make sense, and that from one thought seamlessly flows to the next, and so there's always that seamless kind of flow with the content. So,
which is really important, right?
Yeah, and it takes time. You can't force it. You just have to be patient. Again, that's why I talk about being a good blogger. All of it is about being patient and just saying, okay, this is not working right now. I need to not rush it. As long as you can work without the deadline, if you don't have a deadline pushing up against you and you have more time, then take that time to sort of figure out how to work this through. And so once I had that dense outline, I'll then take my laptop and I'll set it down in front of there, and I'll just start typing. Whatever the first item that is up there, I'll start typing that.
Wait. Before you go on, why do you use a whiteboard versus just, typing out an outline on your computer?
I like the physical practice, the physical activity of taking and drawing and writing and stuff like that. I'm a tactile learner, and so I think naturally in some ways I'm also I like to write a lot of things out too. So I just like to use my hands. If I wasn't being a writer, I'd probably be.
I could see you being a sculptor.
But so you write it out, then you sit down and you start typing out the first. The first line, whatever the top end, just start working through that. And like we always talk about, the first post is going to be crap. It's not going to be worth anything, but you got to get started. And once you get started, your mind will take over and bring you all those ideas and thoughts together. And you have the outline there to help you, to help guide you. You can consider them the guardrails to help guide you along. But also, those guardrails are, can and should be, destroyed. If you need to take veer off the path and go for it. But so I sit down and I write, and of course,
good analogy.
Yeah, if I get to a point where I get the first draft done, I just set that aside, and I might set it aside for an hour. I might set it aside for a week, something like that, depending on how much time I have. And
so a writer shouldn't feel pressured to write the whole thing in one day or 1 hour. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No. I wouldn't. It is a process, yeah. And I know that some people if you have a blogging schedule that's daily, of course you have to write something pretty much daily.
Right.
This is something like Seth Godin talks about. He'll have stuff weeks back that he's been writing. He's always thinking forward, and this is what you need to do then is think to myself, okay, if I have a daily writing schedule, daily posting, publishing schedule, then I need to have plenty of ideas in the queue and be working on things at any one different time. And that's kind of been my process. That's probably your process too, where I'm always working. I always have different projects, juggling different projects. So when I'm finished writing the rough draft here, I can go over to this project where I'm at, at the revision stage, and I might spend, a couple hours revising that. Then from there, I might go to another project where I'm just polishing it for I need to polish the close up because everything else is finished, but I just need to finish off the close, the conclusion and stuff. So.
Okay, Demian. So your blog post is ready to be shared. Okay, now it's done. How do you promote it? What do you do after the blog post is finished?
It's great. So yeah, I think this is, it starts with social media, just, sharing it. This is why we build up audiences on Twitter and Google+, Facebook. If Facebook is, if you have an audience out there. So once you publish something, you then share it to your own audiences. But then, of course, you also, that's probably for most of us, that's probably not enough to really gain any traction and attention for that. So we have to look to, like, the influencers, like the big people in our field who with one single tweet can send a ton of traffic to your site. So, start developing, nurture relationships with them. You reach out to get to know them. And one way you can do that is, like, when you create content for your site, is linking out to other bloggers, within your content. So you're, and they see that link when that link is cited. They see that link on their side of things and say, "Oh, who's this?" And they look over and they'll check out your article. And you'll be introduced to that person. They might end up commenting on it. They think it's good, and then you from there you can build that relationship.
I'm sorry. Did you say tag somebody or what?
No, like you can links in your article. You can link to another.
Oh, link to them in the articles.
Link to them in your article, and they see that link to you link to a particular post article that they wrote, and so. They'll see that and come over, maybe comment, whatever. But that's how you start relationships, and you can elevate that through emails. You can try to do favors for them, whatever. But get people paying attention to you who have influence, and and if you're doing good work, they're going to start sharing your work, and that gets them get attention to your work. And a lot of people they'll do outreach programs where they build a circle of influencers that they know, and it could be 100 people just in their industry. They know once they publish, they'll email those people and say, "Hey, would you mind promoting this new content?" They don't do that for every single blog post, but just stuff that they feel like is really, really kind of good. And so so once they publish it, it's then promoted. And then also too, one of my, there's guest posting too. You could, if you can write for another site that has a much larger audience than you, and they allow you to link back to your content, you can get, you'll have an opportunity to promote that content then. And one of my favorite ways to get people to get thought leaders interested in your content is by writing something that challenges something they said, right? For example, I wrote an article. In which Seth Godin responded to, it was something about 21 ways you can be a superstar, blogger, and he said, I break 12 of these, rules that, so-and-so says, and he on his blog post, on his post, he responded back to that. I did the same thing with Mike Elgin and stuff like that, and I said, 8 reasons why, you're insane to make your blog, Google Plus.
I remember that one.
Right. And I did the same thing with Brian Clark. That's how I got on Brian. I was already on Brian Clark's radar, but our relationship got closer after that, which I challenged him, and I challenged something he said, and he responded, and he actually shared it. And
interesting.
He saw it for what it was. He said, he called me a filthy bastard for doing it, but he said it. I was, of course, I got his attention. He did exactly what I wanted to do, so I could care less what he calls me. Doesn't matter, right?
What is your favorite social media platform, and for promoting your blog posts, and why is that your favorite? And is there any social media that you would recommend maybe we don't use?
Probably the two that I use the most are Google Plus and Twitter. And Twitter's really good. Twitter's really good for just driving traffic. But it's probably it's got 270 million monthly active users. I've got a pretty vibrant audience, and people use it as sort of an RSS feed. So if you have blog posts, like the past 3 weeks, I've been experimenting, and I've been sharing more of my old content on Twitter, like somewhere between 5 to 6 posts a day, and I've nearly doubled my traffic from just doing that alone. These are old posts.
Now, real quickly, do you use Buffer or Hootsuite for that, or do you...
I use OK to Post. It's actually it's actually Octopost, but it looks like OK to Post, but they do have an octopus on it, so never mind.
Okay.
But so I do use that. So I schedule it and post as that, and but Twitter for that, and then Google Plus. I like that for because of it is a decent kind of platform to write on. It's great for images. It's great for sharing images. And anything you say like against Facebook is guaranteed to do really, really well on there.
Yeah.
So speaking of platforms that we wouldn't recommend, that we probably I just don't use Facebook, and but I've seen plenty of people who have been very successful on it. So it's really you have to find where your audience is and then use it. I don't think I would ever say like don't use it. I'm always a particular, unless of course it's a new one. I always think I'm not one to jump out and try to figure out a new social media network and stuff like that. It's not what I get paid to do. It's not what I really enjoy doing and stuff like that. So
let's wrap this up with looking forward into the future.
Okay.
The future of blogging, content marketing, online business writing.
Right.
Because that all ties in with owning your own blog, right?
Right.
So what are some trends that you see coming in the future? What are some things that you see happening for the blogger down the road that you're excited about or that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, so good question. I think the most important thing is for really what's coming down the road is this idea of the remote worker, right? I mean, we're already there.
Yeah.
Both you and I are remote workers in a sense, and where people will start, working from home more and more.
Anything else? Anything else that we need to be paying attention to?
No, I think that covers it.
Yeah? Okay. Great.
All right.
Great. Well, this has been an excellent lunch with Demian today. Demian Farnworth with Copyblogger Media. And check out his personal site as well, thecopybot.com. Demian, thanks for coming and sharing with the Build Your Own Blog audience all about blogging. So
thank you, everyone.
Yep, we'll see you later. Bye.